What do you do when the person you love most walks away forever? This story from Denmark is not just about losing a father, but about finding strength when everything breaks, and rising again when your world feels destroyed. Have you ever felt like your safe world just disappeared in 1 second? That is what it feels like when your family suddenly breaks. No warning. No reason. Just silence, and then emptiness. In Denmark, families look calm from the outside, riding bikes, sharing coffee, laughing in the park. But behind closed doors, pain often stays quiet. Sometimes it is a father staring at his coffee without a word. And then, one day, he is gone. Maybe you are watching this because you also feel stuck with English, or stuck in life. Maybe every word feels too hard, every step too heavy. Maybe you ask yourself, why try at all? I understand. When your heart is broken, grammar feels useless. But here is the truth, learning, step by step, is also healing. Each word you speak, each sentence you understand, is proof you can rise again. This is not only a story about Denmark, or one father leaving. It is a story about finding strength when life breaks apart. Stay with me, I will tell it slowly and clearly, so you can practice English, and maybe, find hope too. Ordinary morning. Imagine a simple morning in Denmark. The sun rises early, and soft light touches the small houses in Aarhus. The street is quiet. A boy wakes up to the smell of bread from the kitchen. His mother is already there, making coffee. His father sits at the table with a newspaper. Everything looks normal. The boy thinks life is safe. He believes his parents will always be there. He eats his breakfast, listening to the sound of birds outside the window. His father says nothing. Just a quiet nod. His mother smiles, but her eyes look tired. Still, the boy does not notice. To him, this is family, warm, steady, unshakable. Denmark often looks perfect to the world. People imagine happy families biking together through Copenhagen, sharing long summer evenings by the sea. And yes, those moments exist. But sometimes, behind the calm routine, something is breaking slowly. You do not see it right away. You only feel a strange distance, like invisible glass between you and the people you love. That morning felt safe, but it was the last ordinary morning. The boy did not know that his life was about to change forever, because the truth is, normal days are not always normal. Sometimes they are the quiet before the storm. The silent father. Have you ever noticed how silence can be louder than words? In that Danish home, silence was slowly filling the air. The father still sat at the table each morning, but he spoke less and less. At first, no one thought much about it. He was tired, maybe stressed from work. Denmark is known for balance, work, family, and free time. But even here, some fathers carry a heavy weight inside. They just do not talk about it. The boy remembered how his father used to laugh when they biked together. But now, the laughter was gone. Instead, there was only a long stare into a cold cup of coffee. The boy asked simple questions. Papa, are we going fishing this weekend? The father only nodded, without promise. The mother noticed too. Her eyes followed him carefully, but she did not ask. In many families, silence feels safer than questions. People believe if they ignore the cracks, the house will stay standing. But silence is tricky. It does not heal. It only grows. Looking back, the boy would later say, the warning signs were there. We just did not want to see them. Because sometimes, the most dangerous words in a family are the ones never spoken. The departure. It happened on a gray afternoon in Aarhus. The boy came home from school, expecting the usual smell of coffee and his father's jacket hanging by the door. But the jacket was gone. The shoes were gone. Even the sound of his father's voice, gone. At first, he thought it was nothing. Maybe his father went to the store. Maybe he was at work late. But the silence in the house was heavy, different. His mother stood in the kitchen, her hands shaking as she washed the same plate again and again. She did not need to say anything. The boy knew. On the table lay a short note. Just a few words, almost cold. I cannot stay. Please forgive me. That was all. No explanation. No hug. No goodbye. The boy's chest felt tight, as if the air had turned into stone. Families are supposed to be forever, right? Fathers are supposed to stay. But here, in this ordinary Danish house, forever ended in one afternoon. Later, the boy would try to remember his father's face at breakfast. The way he avoided eye contact. The silence. The warning signs. But in that moment, all he could feel was the emptiness, like the walls themselves had collapsed. When someone leaves, they do not just take their things. They take your sense of safety too. The aftermath. The first days after his father left felt unreal. The house in Aarhus was the same, but everything inside had changed. The chairs were still there, the table was still there, but the space felt empty, like someone had stolen the air. His mother tried to act strong. She cooked dinner, folded laundry, even smiled when neighbors visited. But her smile was thin, fragile, like glass that could break with one touch. At night, when she thought the children were asleep, the boy heard her crying softly through the walls. For the boy, school became heavy. Words from teachers sounded far away. Friends asked if he wanted to play football, but he said no. He just wanted to go home, even though home no longer felt safe. His little sister clung to him more tightly, asking when Papa would come back. He had no answer. In Denmark, people often say, Alt bliver godt igen, everything will be fine again. It is a beautiful phrase. But for this family, it did not feel true. At least not yet. The aftermath of loss is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like a dinner table where no one talks. Sometimes it is just the sound of forks on plates, and the silence between bites. For the boy, those days felt like walking through fog, seeing shapes, hearing sounds, but never feeling truly awake, because when someone leaves, the world keeps moving. But inside you, time stands still. Loneliness in Aarhus. Aarhus is a city full of life. Students ride bikes to class, cafes are busy with laughter, and music drifts from the harbor on summer nights. But for the boy, the city felt empty. When your heart is broken, even the brightest place can feel gray. That he walked alone through the streets after school, watching other families together. A father lifted his child onto his shoulders. Another father pushed a stroller while laughing with his wife. Each image felt like a knife. Why do some children get to keep their fathers, while others lose them without warning? At home, the loneliness grew louder. His mother was busy working extra hours, trying to keep the house running. His little sister still asked questions he could not answer. When will Papa come back? He wanted to say, soon, but he knew it was a lie. So he stayed silent, just like his father once did. Even his English homework felt heavy. He stared at the page, the words dancing and blurring together. How could he care about verbs and sentences when his own life made no sense? Yet a small voice inside whispered, if you can survive this, you can survive anything. Loneliness in Aarhus was not just about missing his father. It was about feeling invisible in a world that kept moving forward. He was standing still, watching life pass by like a train he could not catch, and sometimes, the hardest part of loneliness is not the silence around you, it is the echo inside you. The turning point. One cold evening in Aarhus, the boy sat alone on a bench near the harbor. The water was dark, the air heavy with silence. He felt small, almost invisible. He wondered if life would always feel this way, broken, empty, unfinished. Then, something simple happened. A classmate named Jonas walked by, holding 2 cups of hot chocolate. He stopped, looked at the boy, and without asking, handed him one. You look like you need this, Jonas said. Just 7 words. Nothing magical. But they lit a spark. That it was the first time in weeks that someone noticed his pain. Not with questions, not with pity, but with kindness. The boy felt warmth, not only from the drink, but from the human connection. That night, he realized something important. Healing does not always start with a grand moment. Sometimes, it begins with something small, like a warm drink, or a kind word, or the simple act of being seen. Psychologists often say the brain is wired for connection. Loneliness shrinks you, but one act of kindness can expand you again. For the boy, this small moment became a turning point. He understood that pain would not disappear overnight, but maybe he did not have to carry it alone. And here is the truth. In every broken story, there is a moment when light finds its way back in. It is rarely dramatic. It is usually quiet. But it is enough to remind you, you are still alive, and you can rise. The lesson. The boy began to see things differently after that small moment with Jonas. He realized something powerful. When life breaks, it does not mean you are broken forever. It means you are being asked to grow in ways you never imagined. That he remembered his father's silence, the empty chair at the table, the heavy days that followed. For a long time, he thought those things had destroyed him. But slowly, he began to notice something else. He was learning to be stronger, more independent, more aware of the people who truly cared. Pain had become his teacher. It taught him that love cannot be forced, that people sometimes leave, and that silence can hurt more than words. But it also taught him that kindness, even in small doses, can save a life. Scientists say the brain grows stronger when it overcomes challenges. It is called resilience, the ability to bend without breaking. And resilience is built not in moments of comfort, but in moments of struggle. The boy understood this now. He could not change the fact that his father left. He could not control the silence of the past. But he could decide what to do next. He could learn. He could speak. He could rise. The lesson was simple but deep. Loss is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a new chapter, one that only you can write. A new beginning. New beginnings rarely arrive with fireworks. They usually come quietly, like morning light slipping through the curtains. For the boy in Aarhus, his new beginning started with small, almost invisible steps that he picked up his English book again. At first, the words still felt heavy, but this time he read them out loud, slowly, as if giving himself permission to speak. Each new word was like a brick, building something stronger inside him. He began writing a small journal in English. Just simple sentences. Today I felt lonely. Today I biked to school. Today I want to be better. These little notes were not perfect, but they were real. And every page gave him a sense of progress, a sense of moving forward. He also started noticing beauty in small things. The laughter of his sister, the smell of fresh bread from the bakery, the soft light of Danish evenings. These were not grand changes, but they reminded him that life still carried quiet joys. In psychology, they call this microsteps. Small, daily actions that rewire your brain and rebuild your hope. For him, each English word, each written sentence, each smile he noticed was proof that he was not stuck. He was moving. Slowly but surely, the boy understood that healing is not about forgetting the past. It is about building a future worth walking toward, and so, one step at a time, he chose to begin again. Closing reflection. Life in Denmark had taught the boy something profound. Broken things can still be rebuilt, and broken people can still rise. He learned that silence does not have to define you, and pain does not have to control you. What matters is what you choose to do after the storm. He thought of Jonas, of that simple God gnat on the bus. He thought of his mother's quiet strength, of his own trembling hands holding an English book. All these moments, small as they seemed, were proof that hope can live inside fragile hearts. Sometimes, We wait for a big sign, a sudden change, or someone to save us. But the truth is, healing often begins with something very small, a word, a smile, a choice to try again. The boy understood now. He was not powerless. He was not invisible. He was writing his own story, one page at a time, with courage stitched into every word, and maybe that is what life is about, not avoiding the hard chapters, but daring to turn the page. So tonight, if you feel like giving up, remember this boy in Aarhus. Remember his pain, his silence, his slow return to hope. And ask yourself, what small step can I take today toward my own new beginning? Because your story is not over yet. The best pages are still waiting to be written. This story shows, even when family breaks, you can rise again. Pain is not the end, it's the beginning of your strength. Take one small step, and your life can change forever.